Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is KTN Scoreline. It's Sunday, and on Sunday, we do it omnibus for the next 4 hours. That is from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Remember, the first 2 hours, we do talk about what is happening in the world of sports here locally and internationally. Then from 4:15 p.m., we'll be bringing you the match live between FC Leopards and Kakamega Homeboys from Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. And today we are focusing on football, and we are talking about the state of football in Kenya. And with me in studio is FKF President Nick Mwendwa. And we've talked about a number of issues. And right now, we would like to talk about the national team, that is Harambee Stars. And first of all, identity, the kits.
Yes.
There have been so many kits for Harambee Stars.
Yes.
But it's like we don't have an identity. Too many kids, you don't know which one is which. A few months, last year, Mafro, you signed a deal with Mafro, but now we've not seen the national team use those kids. When you were playing in Sekafa, the kids were different. What happened?
So when we came to office, we found that there were 3 different contracts, Robin.
Yes.
Of 3 different kids. So the first thing was to sort out that contractual stuff. It took about 5-6 months. But after that, we wanted to have our own. We want to have our own kit. A jersey you can go to a shop and buy for the national team. That's what every fan wants. That's what we wanted.
Yes.
But when we approached the big boys, the Adidas, the Nikes, all these guys, Robinson,
yes,
they didn't want to touch Kenya. Because they said, in Kenya, you have too many fake stuff. Even if Adidas comes, your people will not buy Adidas. So we've been looking and looking. But in the meantime, we have been wearing Allsport. But because we wanted to have a solid kit, we went to Mafro, who it had been recommended to us by other associations. But Mafro Robinson went under. In between, they took too many orders. Yes. They couldn't support it. They went under. So we went back to Allsport. We have been wearing Allsport, if you remember, for very long.
Yes.
What we didn't do is put replicas of Allsport because we had not signed a deal with Allsport. We were trying to get a proper deal. Now what you will see in this year is that will end, and we will either go with Allsport, we're talking to them now to finalize, or we'll have our own kit that we have to go and make and sell. It's a frustration for all of us, but kit business is tricky business. We had to come out from the murky area we were in. Now we are clear. We don't have a funny contract in place. No one demanding anything from us. So we'll have a kit. But we need some patience to get that done. And that's why we didn't have that. But you will notice that most of our uniform has been Allsport, except when we try to do this with Mafro.
Yes, still talking about Harambee Stars, you said that a new coach will be named soon. There have been rumors all around social media that Akrul will be the next Harambee Stars coach. Is it true?
So Robinson,
yes,
I promised Hassan Juma,
yes,
that in 2 weeks,
there will be a new coach.
There will be a new coach.
Yes.
And in 2 weeks, we had a new coach. The only thing is that we could not announce that coach because the coach we found told us that he can only take up this job on 1st of May. That's why we are going to Comoros and Central Africa without him because he can only come here in May because he's engaged with other things at this point. What I cannot do is talk about his name or who he is because we agreed. Professionally, I cannot do that. So I've seen speculation, but I can't say much about it. I'll say that Kenyans are enterprising when it comes to the national team coach is probably the most popular or unpopular item you can talk about in Kenya football.
Still speaking about the national team coach, when Paul Put left, he put in allegations that Kenya is not yet ready, or FKF is not yet ready for, an international coach of a big stature.
I think that I don't want to talk about Paul Put so much because we've moved on.
Yes.
We are the ones who found Paul Put and brought him. So I don't know how he knows so much about what we were trying to do more than we do. We found Paul Put, we brought him. We have found another coach, we're bringing him. That's our job, and I can tell you. And that is why we have been saying this. Let's develop our own coaches who have allegiance to Kenya so that we don't have to go through the shenanigans of, because we don't have those kind of coaches, we have somebody who has no allegiance. And when they get a quick new job from Cameroon and they just win the CAFA, they are running to them. And I want to tell you this, why also Kenyans need to understand. We had 3 cases before he came. Henry Michel left Kenya unpaid, went to FIFA, was granted by FIFA 40,000 euros,
Yes.
which this federation has had to pay. We finished with him. I can tell you, Bobby Robinson is pursuing a case against us, okay, for being dismissed wrongfully. You understand?
Yes.
Those were old contracts. Adel Amroshe went to FIFA, Robinson,
Yes.
and he was awarded $600,000 against us. We have just recently, in the last 3 weeks, appealed at CAS so that we do not pay that amount because we feel it's a punitive. So what we have been trying to do is this, Robinson. We do not want to enter into contracts like those that mess up the country when something goes wrong. So Paul Put has left. He has no claim on us. We have no claim on him. Very good for the country. We're going to get another coach, and we have a contract such that he will have no claim on us. We have no claim on him. So we settle and we pay. But I can tell you this, government has promised. Government paid all Paul Put's dues. Government will pay for the new coach as well. We will not have a problem in this area. So I'm happy that we leave the past, move to the future. We need to play and win against Ghana. We need to play and win home and away against Ethiopia so we can move forward.
A week ago, when you were issuing, the 12 million Kenya shillings to the women's clubs, the women's Premier League clubs in the country, you talked about FKF wanting to venture in producing your own matches. So, there is the question about the mandate of the Football Kenya Federation in the country. Is it running the football in the country, or is it doing both, rights per se and production, all that?
So let me explain.
Yes.
All rights of football belong to FKF and its members. That is the baseline in every country. What we did in Kenya is that we gave KPL the mandate to run the Premier League, running to commercially exploit it. They were given that for 5 years until 2020. But as you know, Robinson, there has been a back and forth between KPL and FKF. And so when SuperSport left, because SuperSport was leaving a couple of countries, not just Kenya, we had a void. And we decided, never again shall we have one broadcaster leave the country and take off and leave us for dry. So we decided to acquire our own equipment with the FIFA money I've explained to you about. We are getting that equipment. We've already paid for it. It's coming in April. So we'll be able to produce matches. When we produce the matches, then they can come to KTN, they can come to any other TV station, and you can pay for them. Right now, you're having matches that you're watching. These matches are free, which is a good thing because it means that the guy in Kwale can watch on KTN in the next 1 hour FC Leopards. It's fantastic. But we're having a problem. And the problem is that the clubs are not getting anything, Robinson. That's a problem we have out of this. So we bring our own equipment and we continue to engage KPL to say, how do we solve this problem? We need a broadcaster who can pay something. We need to bring other sponsors so the clubs can get something out of it. That is where we are in terms of exploiting. By 2020, the contract will end. When it ends, the football members at the AGM will decide who will manage the Kenya Premier League at that time.
Thanks a lot, President. I'll be getting back to you, but let's now move and join Abula Ahmed, who is on standby at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. And Abula, briefly, if you can, let us know what is happening at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos and what to expect in the match between FC Leopards and Kakamega Homeboys.
Well, it is raining goals here at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos County, Robinson, Kenya, because in the last 5 minutes we've had 3 goals back-to-back, and it is 3 squared, or 3 all at the Kenyatta Stadium. Tusker against Sofapaka, 3 goals scored by Kefa Swani, who scored a brace, and Matthias Kigonya, who is the goalkeeper, just scored a penalty for Sofapaka. And as I'm speaking right now, Tusker have scored the 4th goal, so it is 4-3 in favor of Tusker FC. And it is the first match. Remember, we are having a double header at the Kenyatta Stadium today. The second match will be AFC Leopards against Kakamega Homeboys, known as Catalunya Derby. And behind me are AFC Leopards fans and who are going to join me to speak more about what their expectations are. Tuambie jina lako na unatarajia nini mechi ya leo?
Okay, majina zangu kamili ni Caroline Musabi aka Kansime. Leo tunataka kucheza hapa Ingwe Derby, Homeboys versus FC Leopards. As for me, pointi 3 muhimu. Mabao ijalishi. Iwe 1, iwe 5, pointi 3 muhimu.
Sawa, asante sana. Tusikie kaka. Tuambie AFC Leopards wameshinda mechi 3 mfululizo hivi sasa, nafasi ya 3, na inapo atashinda basi huenda akapanda katika jedwali. Je, unaona AFC Leopards watashinda mechi ya leo?
Ushindi ndio kitu muhimu, hakuna haja ya kitu kingine. Ushindi ndio tumekuja kuhitaji na tubebe ushindi turudi nao Nairobi.
Kwa nini una imani kwa FC Leopards watachukua alama 3?
Una imani sababu kocha amekuja na msimu mwingine ile anakuja ku attack. Sasa game ya siku hizi ni ku attack. Attacking ndio kitu tunaangalia. Kishamaliza maneno ya ku attack, tuangalia maneno ya defense iko na maana, sababu pia tunafungwa mabao mingi, of which tunafaa tuzuie sasa ile mabao tunafungwa tujue tutafanya namna gani. Tukifunga bao tunazuia zisiingie. Hiyo ndio kitu muhimu.
Asante sana, asante sana. Well, Robinson, as we await the biggest game of the day, tuambie jina lako na kwa nini umekuja hapa leo?
Mimi naitwa Roslyn Mbone, hapa kushabikia timu yangu FC Leopards.
Umeshabikia FC kwa muda gani?
Kuanzia 2010.
Kuanzia 2010?
Yeah.
Kwa hiyo haujaona FC Leopards ikibeba ligi kuu?
Okay, mimi kile najua hata tusipobeba tumebeba GoTV, niko nini na FC na trust. Siku moja tunajua tutabeba.
Msimu huu FC Leopards mmekuwa moto. Kwa hiyo mnaona FC Leopards ikinyakua taji msimu huu?
Hiyo bado tuko first leg. Hatujui sana but tunajua Mungu yuko, tunaweza fika hapo mahali tumekuwa tukitafuta.
Asante sana. Kaka, tuambie jina lako na leo unaonaje mechi ya leo? FC Leopards
jina ya ground naitwa Coaches. Mimi ni shabiki mkubwa wa AFC toka 205.
Leo mechi FC watashinda mabao mangapi?
Leo vijana morali iko juu. Wale ni makazins wetu lakini itabidi watu heshimu.
Unaonekana ujiamini.
Morali iko.
Morali iko juu. Kocha dada, tuambie jina lako na matarajio ya mechi ya leo.
Naitwa Masi Kabaka. Nina imani kwamba unajua hii ni Ingwe Derby. Najua kwamba kuna mahali nafika vijana lazima waheshimu mzee. Sasa Homeboys lazima watii leo, FC Leopards tunafunga bao 3. Na hiyo ni kitu nitakwambia sababu ukiangalia ile game ya Sony na uangalia ile game wamecheza Mathare, alafu angalia game ya leo, vijana wako na morale na najua kwamba hii game tunashinda. Hiyo ni kitu na imani nayo.
Sawa, asante sana na kila laheri. Well, Robinson, there you have it. Remember, we are talking about goals galore. We have 7 goals in the first match of the day. That is Sofapaka up against 2016 champions, 11-time Kenya Premier League champions. That is Tusker FC. Tusker leading by 4 goals to 3. If we speak about goals, then AFC Leopards among the teams that have scored many goals this season. They've registered 13 goals in the Kenya Premier League season, and we are only 7 games into the season. We'll have to wait and see the second match of the game, the second match of the day, which will be live on KTN News from 4 p.m. AFC Leopards up against Kakamega Homeboys, the Catalunya Derby.
Well, thanks a lot, Abula Ahmed, right there at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Remember, we'll be getting back to him at around 3:45 p.m. this afternoon when he will be bringing us the analysis for the match between FC Leopards and Kakamega Homeboys in a Kenya Premier League tie scheduled to take place there. But let's come back to studio and continue with the conversation that we had, because we are with the Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa. And Nick, there have been allegations that referees have not been paid. That's GoTV, the ones who refereed for GoTV, NSL referees, they have not been paid.
So let me deal with the issue of referees fully.
Yes.
An issue of payments.
Yes.
The NSL, for the first time, has a broadcasting sponsor. The proceeds from that is what we use, plus some more FIFA funds to pay referees. When we came to office, we found a deficit. So in that following year, we were cutting that deficit. Last year, we paid referees to the 39th round. So last year is fully paid for NSL. What had not been finished paying was Women Premier League, because there was a delay of the money from FIFA. The money from FIFA, as you saw, came last week, and we have since paid. There are a few rounds that are not paid. Normally, you don't finish paying all rounds fully, because what happens is that they have to send the report, and then the report has to be checked, and then 2 weeks has to come, then we check it. But what has been happening, there's been delay of FIFA funds, and when they come is when you see activity at FKF, like last week. So women are sufficiently paid. NSL was fully paid until last year, all of it. Now we're talking about this year. The funds from the sponsorship will be here in 2 weeks, and that will be paid. But Kenya Premier League referees are not paid. Important for you to note, because the Kenya Premier League does not have a sponsor. All right? So you're not talking about a problem NSL. In fact, NSL and WPL is better now because they've got some money. This year, KPL referees haven't got money, and we're discussing KPL what we need to do. We're not going to allow this situation to continue for long. As FKF, we're thinking about a solution for the same as we discussed with KPL as well.
Talking about KPL, I mean, this week, there were claims that 18 captains from the 18 Kenya Premier League clubs are planning to go on a go-slow because of the lack of sponsors. And you talked about, trying to come in and help, some of the teams get a sponsor. What is your take?
It's not helping a team get a sponsor, because that's not our job. But let me explain this issue of money properly.
Yes.
So that it's understood, Robinson. So the Kenya Premier League was receiving some grants. Early last year, they were giving clubs 500,000 shillings. Late last year, they were giving clubs 300,000 shillings because Bamba Sports was sponsored them for that 6 months. But the KPL, for one reason or another, did not close in the deals that they would have closed otherwise in end of last year. So beginning this year, they were not able to give that 300,000 shillings a month or 500,000 shillings a month. Nonetheless, no club in Kenya runs at 600,000 shillings. Every club needs at least 1.4 million shillings every month to run, minimum. So the amount from the Kenya Premier League is a subsidy. The clubs themselves have to get a sponsor. This subsidy has been lacking. So you find that referees are not being paid, and the subsidy they were getting to get their team from point A to B is not there. So generally, because of the situation in Kenya last year, the club suffered. All right? And therefore, you find a lot of clubs have not been able to meet their obligations. It is just now we begin to put our heads together and say, what can we do on the part of FKF and KPL to help these clubs? And we're working towards that. I met the clubs 2 weeks ago, and we had some good ideas. We'll meet again when we finish FIFA window and see. But I can tell you that a lot of clubs are suffering, and we know they're suffering. We know that the problem is beyond the 300,000 shillings they were getting. It's a bigger problem than that. Government has pledged that they'll come in and support. We are presenting this to government, and we are hoping that in another 2 weeks, the clubs can get a reprieve from government, and then now we can move forward from there.
When you are doing club licensing, which should be done, annually. Yes, was this not part of what the clubs should have done?
It is part of it. But let me explain to you what happens to Kenyan clubs.
Yes.
Every club, even the corporate clubs, they get given an annual budget by their sponsor. So you go to Tusker, and Tusker underwrites, says we'll sponsor this club in this financial year. That underwriting is what we use to clear the club that they'll play in that year. But you say we have a problem. Take the betting industry. Betika, SportPesa, EliteBet, all these guys, they had undertaken that they will sponsor these clubs in the 2018 season. But what happened? Tax came. They said, these circumstances, we cannot continue. So they pulled out. That eventuality, whatever club licensing you do, you can't cover it. You understand what I mean? So we are going back and saying, how do we mitigate this in future? And the only way is if the league itself continues to expand its sponsorship, if the clubs are so attractive so that if one sponsor leaves, another one comes. If the funds come to the stadium, if other streams that are supposed to make money to the clubs, they do so, they have their own stadium, they do the kind of stuff, then we can take away this. La Liga had this problem 10 years ago. They've been building slowly and slowly and slowly to get to where they are today. Because they're in Europe and the product is good, they have been getting things done. We have to continue to do this work and develop it, and we have to take away the cobbles we've been having, which is what I'm saying to my friends, remove that, so that FKF and KPL work together and say, our goal is to make sure the clubs grow and receive money. If the clubs grow, everything else will grow.
Are our products, that's the clubs that we have in the country, not good enough to attract major sponsors?
The clubs are good, but look at the overall circumstances. The clubs have no stadium. The club's budgets, they still have to go out and find sponsors who mostly are unwilling to this stage to come on board. And when they come on board, quickly a tax ban comes and they're snapped the few that had Mathare United, Sofapaka, Ulinzi, all these guys, Gor FC, who still have kept, because they're stronger brands, they've kept their sponsor. But the thing is this, we have to continue building that industry, and we have to inject the seed capital required now. Seed capital in this case doesn't mean money, but what is required now to keep them afloat, to play a good football so that we can attract more of them. And this is long-term work. In Germany, it took so many years. In Spain, it took so many years. We have to do that work and continue doing it.
Let's talk about there were allegations, still, these are allegations made that you don't want Harambee Stars playing against highly ranked teams around the world.
Robinson, you know, that's why it's good that you call them allegations.
Yes.
There is no way we can reject to play against quality opposition. Remember, we played DRC. DRC was 38th. When we went away to them, they were number 38. Home and away, and beat them. DRC were doing better than Algeria at that time. So our attitude is not that to reject big teams. We play big teams, for example, and I'll say this, and,
yes,
with the risk of people saying that we're planning to play Bafana
South Africa.
South Africa in Kenya.
Yes.
Because the new coach we're getting has said, try and see if you can get them at home. They have their own conditions. They're saying, if you meet these conditions, we can play. We are planning to play Burkina Faso because we will play against Ghana. We have just sent our under-23 team to Uzbekistan. All right? Uzbekistan A team is playing Morocco in the same window. So that was false and not true. I think that it's wrong to make those allegations, but we clarified. We have never rejected. In fact, we are working to see how we can play a European side in Europe soon. We've been working on that. Now we're playing Ghana, so we need to play against teams that the coach said are fit to fit the bill of Ghana. After we play in the AFCON qualifiers, hopefully next year, we'll have a chance to play a game against a European side. And that's our attitude. So it's not true to say that.
So where are we as Kenya in terms of football now?
I'd say this. In these first 4 years, is cleaning house, putting these things in place, lowering the cobbles, having one federation, having one association, laying down the football development mentality, all right? Under 13, under 17, under 20, under 10, 23, making all teams active. We are the only country that have played in every window, both for men and women. We have played most. So we have done that. But that's top level, Robinson. Our job is not here. Our job is here in stadia. Our job is here in developing the kids and making a conveyor belt of developing those kids. It's a hard job. We have to press on and do it under 13 centers of excellence. That is what we are doing. It's a big job. And the other job is to develop the women game, because women have a higher chance of taking us far than men because there are more opportunities in women. That is what we are doing now, laying the infrastructure. In the second term now, what we plan to do is press that infrastructure to see what it can give us in 2022 and 2026. But important is not to do it once. It's not to give the women teams 750,000 once. It's to give them 750,000 every year for the next 3 years, and if possible, increase it so that those teams can play and enjoy the fruits of being on the pitch. It's a big job. This year is too late. We have a debt still. I told you that Adela Mrushe has been awarded 60 million against us.
Yes.
I can tell you that we have been paying slowly. We have negotiated. We are paying slowly every month, $30,000 to certain people who went to court, who did this, who did that. We've been taken to court 19 times. So we're cleaning that up. Hopefully by 2020 we finish the cleanup. But as we also develop the game and lay the pillars in place, after that now is to press that, invest more in it, partner more with government, because now we partnered more in government, partner more with other stakeholders like Safaricom and Chapadimba, as you have seen. They promised me today that they will continue with Chapadimba, which is fantastic news for everybody. To do that in Wajir and Lodwar and Kilifi, that is the job that we want to continue doing. And so that after 10 years, when we are out of here, everybody will say that we laid the infrastructure. Whether we'll succeed now at top level or not is something we can debate. But without that, we cannot be like a Germany that has 2 national A teams that they can field in a confederation. Because we want in future, when Victor Wanyama is gone, that kid who is at Juja preparatory will be 20 and can step in his shoes. And we can have another one and another one. That is where football has failed traditionally. And that is where my focus is as FKF president. Yes.
You talked about women football in the country, and when you came in as the FKF president, you know, the first year, the national football team, Starlets, really achieved a lot in that year. You know, what is in store for them, and how are you planning to keep on supporting them? We saw you give the FIFA grant of 12 million shillings. So what is in store for them to see that support? And
so for the women, they're playing Zambia, Starlets, the A team, playing Zambia in a friendly, come back to Kenya, play Uganda home and away for the qualifier, play Equatorial Guinea if we beat Uganda. After that, go and play in a tournament, just like in 2016, when we went to Cotif tournament in Spain. We'll go to Algarve tournament this year in France to prepare them for the Cup of Nations in Ghana, where if they emerge that, they can go to the World Cup.
Do you see that as the first?
It can happen.
To go for the World Cup.
It can happen.
Kenya?
And I want to tell you, because I bring you news, Robinson, but David Ouma is back with that team. And that's news.
Yes, that's news.
Robinson.
He was in technical.
Yes, he's been. We took David Ouma into technical. We developed him. We took him to Germany last year. He's been one of our top instructors. Now we said that's enough. Come back now. He has more knowledge. You bring him back now to Starlets, so that the experience he got in the Cup of Nations, we can try and use it this year. So he will head that team. Going into the Cup of Nations qualifiers now and going into Ghana 2019. He has told me it is possible. I believe it can be done, and we can go to the World Cup. If we do not, we don't leave it there. In 2020, again news, Robinson, for you, is that Kenya is going to bid for the Cup of Nations for women in 2020. Hopefully, we won't have the debacle we've had about stadia. We get the stadia ready now, but we don't bid now. We bid by August so that we bring 2020 Cup of Nations women here in Kenya. So that is the plan we have for women.
You talked about Kenya wanting to host the World Cup under 20.
So two things. FIFA is going to change the format of the youth tournaments.
Yes.
So you're no longer going to have under 17 and under 20. You will have one World Cup, but every year, under 18 or under 19. CAF has promised us that the first one, they will support us, because now CAF to support us. They will support us so we can put in a bid. So in 2020, you're looking at us doing two tournaments. 2020 Women Cup of Nations and World Cup under 18 or under 19, depending on what is passed by the FIFA Council in Colombia in the next week. They will be there on 21st. And what we will pass in Russia this year when we go for the World Cup for the FIFA AGM.
Talking about the bids and Chapadimba finally, before I let you go. So after Chapadimba, the winners, what next?
The winners is fantastic partnership, I'll tell you. And that's why I'm saying that we have changed the image of the game. Safaricom would never touch football before. They've been with us for a year. They're so impressed. They want to do this for another 5 years. The winners in Bukungu next weekend, we'll have the national winners. Every province, very important province, every province has produced a winner for girls and a winner for boys. Robinson.
Yes.
Every province except only one province. The North region has not produced the girls for us, but the boys are in every province. The matches start this Thursday, and the winner will go to Tottenham, where they will be hosted by Victor, and where they will train and play against a team. Never happened before. We will again start the same drill in June. Again, like I told you, it's a conveyor belt. It's not about doing it once, Robinson. It's about repeating it and repeating it and repeating it to get it right for the next 10 years. And we are hoping that we can do that, especially at that level, the lower ages. Because after you produce the talent, once you have the talent, look at Nigeria today. Plenty of talent.
Yeah, that's
Why?
true.
Because the kids were developed in Europe. In Europe, not them. Nigeria never developed any kids. But their kids are developed at 14 years in Europe. Victor Moses and the like. For us, we have to develop them here and get them to that level. And that's the difference between us and the big nations.
Well, thanks a lot for coming in. We'll be looking forward to seeing you around again, having you here, probably after Chapadimba. probably after Chapadima, and when the national team has
There's a lot
played.
coming. There's a lot coming, Robinson.
A busy week for you.
There's a busy week. There's a lot coming, and we hope to do this a good job. There's also politics now, you can see coming. So we will see you many times.
Yes. Thanks a lot for finding time to come.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot. So we now get into the top 5 moments of the week. Remember, these are those moments that have made headlines during the week. Now, the Muay Thai